I was kind of hopeful because I thought they did the screen. No, I think it was but I only have
Did you guys have any problems like that rocks yesterday? We don't know that like 11 cars. The car was driving around and he stopped and he told us to check right by Irma now. Yeah, he pointed like behind something and he was looking for rocks. So we said they were right to a few spots. Our way, I checked them this morning.
I had one in 43 years. I've had one.
Your house,
The house,
oh.
the kid across the street.
Streaming on.
I'm back in the mechanic. Every day. Yeah.
We're live streaming right now, just FYI. So everything is being picked up. I'll switch out with you in a bit because I might go out just for a little, little vape. And then you can, if you don't mind, and then you can take over this just to like a lap. Just have to hold it steady. That's all. You just have to hold it steady. That's all.
I know.
No, because the screen shares my laptop and I use the laptop. Okay.
You can sneak in somewhere.
I will roll and it shows that all of the council is present, recording secretary, administration. And I will call the meeting to order. 3.0 additions to the agenda. Okay.
I'd like to move 8.1 before finance 7.0, and I'd like to put the request to delete 7.2 and 10.4, please.
7.2 and 8. Which?
10.4.
And I would like to
ask for the removal of municipal audit 9.4.
Norm?
Yeah, I would like to remove 9.3 and 10.5.
What's the agenda?
You guys are taking off everything that I put on. Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you.
All in favor? All opposed?
Opposed?
Honor, there's no motion to
Oh,
vote on.
sorry.
Motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Motion to accept is amended.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
See how this is gonna go.
All opposed?
Yeah.
And good evening, Chris.
They removed all Amber's stuff she put on agenda.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have to adopt it.
6.1,
They voted to
regular
remove it all
meeting of
off.
council.
I'll move that we approve the regular meeting of council for July 26th.
All in favor?
You see that? They just removed everything that Amber put on.
6.2,
I'll move to accept the special meeting of council of August 17th.
all in favor? Opposed? 6.3,
I'll move to accept, pass the minutes of the council meeting of August 18th.
all in favor? Carried. All opposed? Chris, welcome. This will be your last meeting with you? Or second last?
Will be the last.
This will be the last?
Louis Sims is gonna look after me, as I was saying, I'm retiring in November, so my last day will be in October. Sergeant Sims is going to look after the detachment once I go. You're in very good hands, I would say better hands. I'll move along just to kind of introduce him to everybody and kind of show him how we do our quarterly reporting.
Thank you very much for your service to our municipality. You've been a great chief of police for us, and we appreciate the partnership with that.
It's been my pleasure. Let's dive right into our quarterly report. Quarter one is usually setting up our annual priorities, which Gibbons was consulted on for the year. So sometimes stats rolling in a little bit slow, but we did kind of focus on a lot of community engagement throughout the county and in the town of Warrenville. Fourth quarter, regular meeting of council. I'm not sure, I think that was, I didn't write my notes, but I think that was Sturgeon County. Touch point, I meet with Chris Wells in Sturgeon County every other month, just to discuss administrative matters and policing initiatives. Elected officials in Legal, as a meeting of council, quarterly report in May. Coffee with a Cop is kind of going strong in both Bonnecourt and Gibbons, and Legal. Sims has it tonight, right after this meeting, actually. So, we're heavily involved in security side of things in Sturgeon County for the Villeneuve Air Show. That went off very well. We had two of our officers coordinating the RCMP security contingent for that. Another copy of the Coffee in Bonnecourt in June. Another touch point with Chris Wells. And that pretty much sums up our community involvement. I think was there not a Gibbons council meeting? And there must have been, I just must have missed it in my calendar when I filmed this out.
Mayor Dick, members of council, we had a meeting in July 26th that we had, and you actually were set to come in June, but you weren't able to make it, so that's why we scheduled you for this meeting.
Okay. For crime reduction, our priorities this year are crime reduction, employee wellness, and it says enhanced awareness education. That's fancy terms for public engagement. So, what we've been doing with the Coffee with the Cop and the community engagement initiatives, I know we'll be out in September. I can't remember the name of the function that we're having in Gibbons, and we'll be there. What's going on? What is it in September?
Meet the community.
Meet the community, that's what it is. So anyway, but hotspot checks is one of the things that we do regularly. We didn't reinvent the wheel this year because we go with what works. April, we had 228, May 85, and June 37. You'll see a downtick in patrols from April all the way through to June. That's primarily due to some staffing resource issues that we ran into, as well as a lot of call volume for our members to deal with. So less members, more work, less chance for proactive patrols. So they dropped off significantly. We have we only noticed that towards the end of the quarter. We did notice that, and we rectified that situation. Our staffing numbers are back up to a more reasonable level now. Employee wellness, we had a long-awaited detachment meeting. We discussed everything from, what Sergeant Sims and our expectations are with respect to providing community service, file expectations. We worked on conflict management within the office, because those things do pop up from time to time. What else did we do? We did some team building stuff in the afternoon. All in all, we schedule this. We try to do it every 2 years, simply because it's such an expensive undertaking. We need to backfill shifts for 3 full days in order to make sure everybody can come to the detachment meeting. So that ends up being a significant amount of money. So we don't hold them up every year just because they do eat up overtime budget. So. Each watch has been doing their own team building stuff as well. Barbecues, functions, gatherings, that kind of stuff outside of it. Coffee with a Cop seems to be our most popular engagement piece this year. Happy to roll it out to anybody that wants to do it. All you got to do is call us, let us know, give us time and a place, and we'll be there. And then just make sure that the community members know so that they can show up and discuss anything policing related or just anything about life in general. It's in Bonaccord, we used it as a problem solving to deal with some problem residences that they're having there. But in Miguel, it's more of a social engagement to just chat with police that are human beings as well. And then public safety, we wrote 111 tickets the first quarter. That's not including what the regional highway patrol units do when they come rolling through. But again, numbers down a little bit simply because there was not a lot of opportunity for self-generated work in the first quarter. We can jump right into the statistics. Total criminal code is down a whopping 3%, which is 9 files. And we're looking at quarter numbers, so April to June, right? So when we're comparing it to the same quarter for last year. It's a small sample size, so the fluctuation, although it's great to see that it's gone down, it's a snapshot in time. It's not indicative of any trends or anything like that. It's just, this is what the numbers ended up being at the end of the quarter. So persons crime is down 16% from 102 to 86. Property crime is up 6% from 241 to 255. So, I mean, that's a total of 14 files. It's really not, and it's the same for persons crime, it's really not that many files. It says, yeah, 16% or 6% or whatever, but when you're looking at 14 files over the course of 3 months, that's not that much. So, that could be a busy weekend for us sometimes. Criminal code traffic's down 36%. We talked about that in the last meeting. With the move towards provincial sanctions for impaired driving now, you're going to see a lot of the code traffic stuff and the prosecutions criminally for traffic offenses stay quite low. So you'll see the number, the percent change probably even out, but for the next year or so, you'll probably see a bit of a drop. Provincial is down a little bit again. Staffing issues, we weren't able to write as many tickets or do as much interdiction and traffic enforcement as we wanted to, but down 10% from 560 to 496. CDSA, which is drug offenses, same too. Federal acts, migratory birds, customs excise, anything that isn't criminal, but also isn't provincial. 9 occurrences were reported occurrences. Provincial acts, gaming and liquor, all those types of things. 100 from 121, so it's down a little bit. Municipal bylaws, because we've been having a lot of success in making sure that when a bylaw matter does come to us, it actually goes to the bylaw first before it comes to us, so that there's no file even generated. And because we just generally refer those to either Sturgeon or Morinville. Vehicle collisions down significantly, which is nice to see. 95 the previous year, 69 this year. Staffing wise, we have still have 15 positions, 15 provincially funded positions for the rural detachment. Couple that with 10 on the 12 on the municipal side of things. It says in the report that there's 18 working. There's not. We have 5 soft vacancies within the detachment. We are technically fully staffed, but we have a number of soft vacancies for parental leave. We have one member who's suspended, and then a couple of members who are off due to long-term illnesses. For detachment support, it's actually 4, not 5. It comes up as 5 when we run the report because there was a position, we reclassified one of the administrative staff to a higher level, so rather than classify their position, they deleted that position and created a new position. They didn't delete the old position. So it shows 5, but it's only 4. So we're fully staffed on the provincial side of things. We will be fully staffed on the provincial side of things. Fluctuates almost, seems like almost daily. So that's it in a nutshell for goings on in the detachment. We'll just quickly run through some of the more specific stats, just to give you an idea of the types of stuff that we've been going to over the quarter. Two files that are offenses related to death. That's a criminal negligence file. We're looking into it's not murder or anything like that. It's just a file that may have a criminal element to it. 4 robberies reported throughout the county. 5 sexual assaults is down from 2021. As I explained, it would be. 2021 was basically all those counts were from one specific file that we had to deal with. And other sexual offenses is from 4 to 3. Assaults are down 26% from 53 to 35, which is, I think, might be a bit of an outlier. It's always nice to see those go down, but if you look across the board, that's significantly lower than it has been in the last 5 years. So I would suspect that over the course of the year, that will even out. No kidnappings, always nice. 1 extortion, likely to do something online. Criminal harassment numbers are up. I did, because you're up like 100% from 9 to 18, and it's like that within the town of Morinville as well. So try to figure out what's driving that. It's difficult to say, but what I did find is about 70% of the files that are reported as criminal harassment are completely unfounded, like they're not criminal harassment. So you take 70% of 18, and that's about the number that you have. So it's not very high. So I wouldn't worry too much about that number doubling. Uttering threats is down a little bit, but it's about even from the last 5 years. Break-in enters are on par again. A little bit down over the course of 5 years. Theft of motor vehicle again down a little bit over the course of 5 years. Total 28%, 18% from last year. Theft over $5,000 on par from last year. Theft under down a little bit. Possession of stolen goods on par. That's a number that I think I've explained that we like to see it higher. That usually means that we're catching the bad guys with stolen stuff. 1 arson reported for the county or for the rural area. Mischief to property, 49, and mischief other, which is, there's a few definitions of what mischief actually is in the criminal code. It's doubled from the last year, and part of the reason for that is if you look at you go forward and you look at suspicious persons, people reporting suspicious persons, that's up significantly from previous years as well. So I think what we're seeing is more reporting. So the number probably seems odd to me, but who knows? Offensive weapons, 8, disturbing the peace, 16, nothing, out of the ordinary for those numbers, they're pretty much, average. Failing to comply is down a little bit, from 28 to 19, seeing less prosecution for those types of offenses, just given the way that the laws have been kind of tweaked federally.
Chris, can I ask one question on offensive weapons?
Yeah.
Is that firearms, baseball bats, knives?
Likely
A
with
broken bottle?
rural, it's probably firearms related files. The broken bottle knives and stuff like that more has to do with, likely, things happening in a town setting or an urban setting. So, I would say that, 75% of them or 80% of them probably something firearms related.
Jim?
Oh, you were on the stats for B&Es.
Yeah.
I just had a question if that involves vehicles and businesses, or is it all mainly residential?
So break and enter is, has to do with the premises. So, like breaking into a car or something like that isn't a break and enter, that's.
On property, right?
Okay, on property, if it's coded properly, then that could be considered a break and enter, yeah.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is I just wanna know if there's a correlation that you may find with our stats regarding residential. And if it's something that our citizens need to be concerned about safeguarding and maybe bringing back more awareness pieces on crime prevention.
Well, I think, safeguarding and bringing back awareness pieces on crime prevention is vital to keeping those numbers low. I don't think that we need to do it as a reactionary thing. We should almost be proactive in that. That's part of like, hotspots. We do Operation Cold Start in the winter, Lock It or Lose It. And, what else do we do? What's the name of that one for businesses? That project that we do. I can't remember what they call it. It's some fancy name like Lock It or Lose It or Hot.
So what I'm asking is I'd love to see more of that programming coming into our town, especially now that COVID's kind of moving away and people are moving to go to work outside of the town. And you know how it is, people will look for areas to hit, and my neighborhood's been hit a couple times already. So I just want to make sure that our citizens kind of get that extra awareness. Plus, school starting. I would like to have the kids getting more awareness with an SRO coming to the class or whatever that would look like. And the SRO for everybody is School Resource Officer. And I just want to start looking back just because of stuff happening in Edmonton lately. And I want to make sure that we safeguard our town. So.
I agree 100%. I think very easy to do, and it's something that we can kind of springboard off of community engagement as well. So kind of tackle two birds. But I know that's not how the saying goes, but it is today.
I noticed that I believe you skipped over fraud.
Yes.
And the numbers there are significant in that there were 20, just a second, let me find it. 20 last year and 30 this year. What types of fraud are you seeing?
We're seeing a lot of senior fraud, a lot of the telephone and email scams. I think my phone probably was ringing earlier. It was probably a scam call, but because nobody actually calls me, and my wife knows I'm in a meeting. So a lot of those, a lot of relationship occurrences. We are starting a program on education, aimed primarily at the populations that are vulnerable against fraud, without trying to pigeonhole seniors. It tends to be who they like to target. So we are starting that campaign here shortly. We're just gathering our materials and stuff like that. So that will.
When you say relationship, family members defrauding elders?
Usually it's somebody that somebody's met online posing as their boyfriend or girlfriend kind of thing. And we've had cases where the suspect hasn't even asked for money, and the person voluntarily gives them money to help with if they want to get in on an investment or help them with their business or whatever, because they're in love. And very, very tricky people out there, very, very convincing people out there, so, and we've seen some that are $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, that's gone missing, so. And almost not prosecuted. If we could even find, who it was, but they know the tracks.
Those numbers you provided, good sir, are they town specific or Sturgeon?
That's for Sturgeon County.
Sturgeon in
I
general.
can forward, like, we
Guys,
can,
if I can ask you, after Chris gives his report, please go out and talk to him, get the information.
yeah, we'll stick around for a bit.
Yeah.
But let's, I can't remember where we left off, let's just stop at frauds. Thank you, Councilor Berry, for pointing that out, I did skip over that one, went right on to arson. Drug enforcement, there's not gonna be much for production unless we find a meth lab or something like that, which is probably unlikely for the area. Possession numbers, we always have low counters on this. Trafficking, one, and cannabis enforcement, again, is gonna be really low. It'll be more regulatory than anything, and federal general is any act that, is captured in the above six occurrences for the quarter. Liquor Act, 5, Cannabis Act, 2, Mental Health Act, 36 is down a little bit. Other provincial stats, again, anything that's not the above 57, those numbers are all a little bit lower than they have been in previous years. Municipal bylaws down, again, we're referring them to the right agencies so that they can deal with that stuff, so we can focus on the criminal stuff. That's traffic, and then regular bylaws, so a total of 15 occurrences that didn't get deflected. 13 injury MVCs for the county, 47 property damage. That's half of what it was the previous year. Don't know what the particular reason for that is, probably just the weather in the spring. Property damage with the non-reportable, which is under $2,000, again, 9 from 11, staying on par. False alarms, 18, down, that's good. Those cost a lot of time, and often when we do get alarms, the members tend to drive a little bit faster to get to them. So anytime that, as they should, but anytime that we're driving that way to a false alarm, needlessly, it's not something that is great. So when the false alarm numbers are down, then that keeps the speeds from our guys down as well. So abandoned 911 calls for whatever reason over the last 2 years has gone like really, really down. We used to get 911 calls all the time, whether they're pocket dials or whether it's a kid calling 911 as a hoax or something like that. I don't know if it's a technology thing with the phones and stuff like that, but we don't get very many at all anymore. Suspicious person, as I said before, is up 138 from 105. That's people reporting something going on in their community, which is a number that I would see very high. I mean, I don't want suspicious people running around, but I do want people noticing running around. So, 13 persons reported missing, which is down just a touch from this time last year. That's again, those are extremely time-consuming files. I would say between 50 and 100 hours of work per file, depending on how long it takes to find an individual. Sometimes they'll stretch on for a week or two before we're able to locate the person. We treat those files very seriously because most of them have to do with people who are at risk populations, vulnerable populations, drug addiction, mental health, kind of stuff like that. So they're high risk for to being exposed to danger. So those types of files, although it doesn't seem like much, like you take that number and multiply it by 100, and that's about how many hours we're spending on these files. No search warrant counters for this year, or for this quarter, which is just a scoring error. I know we've improved search warrants. Spousal abuse survey code is on par from previous. We'd like to see it 0, but that's not the reality. Form 10, which is mental health act stuff. There were no Form 10s scored for the quarter. And that, in a very fast nutshell, is the quarterly report. I'm happy to answer any questions, Councilman.
Two for you. Data Action, the program you guys ran last year, you had good success with it because you were able to find the hot spots and deal with it. Is it gonna be running again?
Not officially, but we've taken the best practices from it and, we're rolling it into our priorities, so yes.
So it's
Yeah, but
continuing
not
as a
just
day-to-day.
Yeah.
And the prolific offenders,
Mhm.
and the ones who are not just in Gibbons, but the ones who travel out,
Mhm.
hitting everywhere, is that still?
Always, and always will be. That's one of the, especially for small communities, if you can, like, if you get a rash of, vehicle thefts, it's probably one or two people. And if we can deal with that, then that goes down to zero. And we've seen it where, like Monica or Gibbons, like, yeah, we'll have 5 or 6 vehicle thefts. Then we'll catch one of the locals in a stolen vehicle or stealing a vehicle or something like that, arrest them. A lot of times just on warrants and stuff like that. And as soon as they're in remand, then all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, no vehicles are being stolen.
Sorry, Norm.
No, after everything.
Lorraine?
The spousal abuse reports have remained very high. Are those typically individual incidents, or is there 1 or 2 or 3 people who are constantly abusing?
No and yes.
No, yeah.
It's a very tricky, type of situation, that it's really hard to capture just with a number. There's a lot that plays into it. There's a lot of statistics and studies around spousal abuse and relationship abuse. It's far more widespread than we realize. That being said, we do have a lot of repeat offenders, individuals or problem families, if you will, that we deal with on a more regular basis.
This seems very consistent with what I've understood from my previous work with FCSS. And that's that family violence or intimate partner violence is very common in Alberta. As a matter of fact, Alberta is has one of the highest rates of spousal and intimate partner abuse. And it makes me sad to hear that it's that same case here.
Yeah, well, I can't speak to the rates of spousal abuse. What I always tell our members when we do get a spousal file or intimate partner relationship file is I always say that reporting to the police is not an event, it's a process. And you can say between 9 and 12 occurrences have likely gone on before somebody reports it to the police. So that we need to, when somebody does finally come forward, we need to take that very seriously and capture as much information as we can immediately, because in a lot of cases, people get cold feet, second thoughts, and those types of things. Then if we don't get a statement or evidence immediately, it no longer exists because they're no longer willing to participate in the investigation.
Norm?
Yeah, I was just, knowing that they're changing victim services next year to the so-called provincial jurisdiction, have you heard any more updates, or have you any knowledge of what the police's role is going to be in the future?
I think the policing role will remain largely the same. I know that we're fortunate that our victim services are able to provide right now trauma support. I know that that's not within the mandate of the new model, but they will always be there. Yeah, they're going to a regional model where I understand that's now up for discussion or consultation with, but we work in concert with victim services very closely. However, we'll work with whatever product that we're given by the province, so to speak. So, and we'll make it work.
Okay.
So again, as I mentioned before, with some of the programming that we already have for the community, how strong is the programming for domestic violence? For helping our residents who may be dealing with it, or the awareness of it to help with reporting it, and also obviously providing the tools for the RCMP to deal with it.
As far as legal, we have the appropriate training and supports on a criminal, but there's so many layers to it. Like there's FCSS, John Howard, John Hopkins, all those different agencies in and around in the communities, around the city, those types of things that help deal with those types of things and provide that social support. And I mean, that's not really something that's not where our expertise lies. But there are a significant amount of layers of social support for that when people are ready to take it done. I think, and we've never found a vacuum.
That is one of the areas that FCSS is involved in, that providing education around family violence and providing information that allows for the creation of an escape plan if there is a situation in which the person who's being abused needs to get out. So yes, it's very much an FCSS issue.
Thank you very much, guys. Lou, nice to see you. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Chris, take care. Hopefully we'll see you around.
Thanks.
Yeah, enjoy retirement.
I'll skulk around here for a bit.
Can I get a motion to accept the resignation?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lorraine. All in
You're
favor?
way too young, Chris.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to see me.
7.1, council date as August 21, 2023. Any questions or concerns? Motion.
I'll make the motion.
Any questions or concerns? Amber?
On page 1, there was $11,550 that was paid to the writer. Can you explain what that is, please?
Absolutely. Mayor Deck, members of council, payment to the Writer Investments is actually a consultant that works with the town by the name of Gary Wetch, who actually has been working with us on our utility bylaw, that we're a corporation that we're putting together in addition to our sanitary backtrack station that we're building, in addition to a number of our housing developments that we're working with. In addition is that we're working with some major companies on the south end that we can't talk about the names right now, but one of them is in the neighborhood of $350 million, and a lot of this is in part due to his contacts and working with that Mayor Deck Members Council.
Is that a one-time payment, or are they on, how long are we paying that for?
It's actually, covers 2 months. He's actually on a month-to-month with us.
So that is almost
So that was for 2 months.
$6,000 a month that we're
About
paying?
$5,500 plus GST.
And how long is that contract for?
As I said, it's month-to-month.
Rough idea?
It depends on what we need and how long it proves to be beneficial.
Oh, okay.
Lorraine?
On the first page as well, prime to finish, $2,945.77. Gibbons Dance Studio. Is Gibbons Dance Studio part of our responsibility?
Mayor Deck, members of council, Mayor, yes it is. It's upstairs in our arena that we have a lease space to them. And so as the landlord just said, it's our responsibility to paint it, maintain it, and prime to finish has actually done a lot of work with the town of Gibbons and provides excellent value in what they do in the product.
Thank you.
So we painted the dance studio.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion? Opposed?
Can I just get a refresher of which we removed from the agenda, please?
9.3, 9.4, 10.4,
I thought it was 7.2 as well.
Yes, it was
7.2.
Could you go a little bit slower with that, please?
Sorry. 7.2, 9.3, 9.4, 10.4, 10.5. Old business, 9.1, live stream council meetings.
Mayor, Deck, members of council, administration was tasked to look at and investigate the opportunity to webcast our council meetings on a regular basis. And administration, Chris did a lot of the primary work with it in relation to meeting with the consultants as well as I did. But because a lot of this will fall on hers, it's also a lot of the record management, the agenda management, and the overall posting of the information and getting it out. But also this will also tie in with the next one, talking about citizen engagement, because part of that, and when we develop an overall policy, how do we, allow for the general public to have more, participation into different matters and where that goes in the agenda, but also to get access to the agenda, but also to be able to do that on an ongoing basis. And, so with that is moving forward with it is administration in its investigation looking to webcast. And in fact, we did investigate, and the camera we do have above actually will be sufficient. We did have the individual from Long and McQuaid come and actually upgrade the firmware in it, and so now it'll be able to work with it. But also with it is that being able to have an agenda. Councillor Harris has talked about getting an agenda on there. Well, we'll be able to actually have all of the agendas electronic, so everyone will be able to see that. They'll also be able to tag the different areas in a meeting where it's been webcasted, what we're proposing with that, so it actually can become a full suite. One of the other components that we're recommending and we put in there is the ability to actually, with voting, electronic voting, and component option with it, is being able to, that way if members of council are away on holidays and stuff, they can webcast in, but also still vote that way electronically, and so it'll have that opportunity. There's a number of different avenues, that we looked at, and either being YouTube or else being able to webcast through our own website. The difference on an annual basis, because it does have an annual fee, subscription fee if we went through YouTube, is that it's $10,935 a year with a $4,176 implementation, one-time implementation fee. Transparency through webcasting, even up through our own website, was actually $20,876 annually, $4,176 for implementation fees. So with that, and we have attached the information and details to it, what they offer within their packages. But further is that we also included a draft copy of a live streaming and recording of council meeting policy for consideration, knowing that, it may take a little bit of time with that, is, for everyone to go through and such like that, and to be able to see what's effective. So what council or administration at this time is recommending the council choose to implement webcasting utilizing the YouTube package as its media source for the upside cost, $10,935 in annual subscription fees plus $4,176 in implementation fees. And then a second recommendation that council direct administration to implement the webcasting package of its choosing with electronic voting component option of $1,054 in annual subscription fees plus $1,150 in implementation fees, a one-time fee. And the draft policy is not part of this recommendation at this time, so because it'll require separate adoption. So with that, Mayor Deck, members of council.
Clarification on the two recommended actions before we get a motion on the floor.
I got a question.
Yeah. So the recommendation is to go with the YouTube because it is $10,000 cheaper.
Why do you get to speak before there's a motion on the floor?
All I'm asking is clarification of these.
Okay,
I'm not asking for a motion, I just want clarification. And you have a second recommended action. That council direct administration can implement a webcasting package of its choosing. So, now, that be?
Well, the choosing is the electronic voting, because electronic voting is an addition. So one is the YouTube and the webcast, and the other one is the additional component that you can have the voting done. And it tracks, and it actually will basically records every vote and who voted and such. So it'll be able to show that that's an add-on.
To the,
Yeah, to the additional, to the first one, but it's actually in addition to either one.
to either.
Either of the two that were put up top, yes.
Would anyone like to put a motion to the floor with regards to the webcasting?
I don't like either of these motions. So, really reads you guys.
Can you make a motion before we can ask questions? I'll make a motion to, look at the recommended actions for the webcasting.
What's the first question?
In here, there's a lot of information, which I thank you for, but there's a lot to get through. You mentioned the YouTube and the webcasting. There's also a piece called eScribe that you've got a lot of information on the bottom, but there's no reference to either A, what is the cost of that, or B, how does it integrate with the YouTube or the webcasting?
If I can, Mayor, Deck, members of council, actually, eScribe is actually the company that's carrying that, and actually, this is all an eScribe product. That they're the ones that are promoting this, and so they're the ones that are organizing and putting it together, making sure that all of its software will integrate with it.
So am I correct in assuming or understanding that everything you've listed below as far as standard, it looks like there's some optional pieces as well, but everything in that document that's standard would be a part of this regardless of whether we went YouTube or webcasting?
Correct, the ones that are listed there in the, with the big difference is YouTube streaming or webcasting through our website.
Amber?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions actually, because these are big numbers. I'm glad to hear that the equipment that we have is sufficient. First of all, did you consult with any of our neighboring municipalities and see what they did?
Actually, if I may, Chris, I believe that you had very many conversations.
With our
many
neighboring
inquiries.
municipalities?
Not specifically our neighboring municipalities, but I use is the Alberta Municipal Courts Association, which put the question out to which agenda software package that they use, and eScribe was top of the list. As well, we had a video conference with eScribe to see what it wasn't exactly that they offered.
Okay. The reason why I ask is I did a little bit of exploring myself, and according to what I have been told, for example, Redwater uses Zoom and they pay $21 a month. Morinville, when they started, they literally put an iPad on a tripod. So I'm not quite sure if we should necessarily venture into a $10,000 or $20,000 package because I'm not necessarily, I don't think we need it. All we want is to have accessibility to the public, and people can literally come in here and click live stream. So I just want to know, first of all, why didn't we speak with our neighbors first who do it? And secondly, why do we have all the bells and whistles in here when we don't necessarily need them?
If I may, Mayor, Deck, members of council, many of the other organizations already have the document and the agenda packages already online. They already have that within their organization and been using them, which we haven't. So this would be new to us. You know, the webcasting itself and the streaming isn't the expense. It's being able to put all the documentation, handle that, so all the reports get in there, where it's easier for, you know, members from the public to be able to look through and negotiate the, you know, the documents and the agendas and see all the other backup and being able to make those type of changes. You know, council can provide a recommendation to council or to administration on how they'd like to proceed, they can direct it back to administration to do more research if it so wishes. We were tasked to come forward and do some research. We looked at what would be overall efficient for the organization. And if I believe that, I don't want to paraphrase, but I believe it was whatever the cost, and we didn't use that, so obviously our recommendation wasn't whatever the cost. It was trying to be what was most effective for us, but also changing the documents and how council got the agendas and how all of the documents were formatted, being able to store them. So we looked at actually trying to solve a number of challenges at the same time, Mayor, Deck, members of council.
Councilor Sandwell.
Yeah, you're talking about Redwater uses Zoom. I was there for a meeting. You can't get on Zoom unless you're invited. If you're not invited, you can't get onto the meeting. And they had a significant number of people come on there. And the, I guess you call it the broadband or the streaming was so overloaded that it was so slow that you really couldn't have anybody come and talk on it or anything because it would just die right down. Because they use a iPad on a tripod. It doesn't work. And the worst part of the Zoom is that it's not considered to be secure. So if you're having any kind of a meeting at all, if you believe that you're looking for some privacy or security, you can't rely on Zoom for that. As for Morinville, well, I just talked to Simon the other day, and they're looking at changing their way of doing it because it's not effective there either. Thanks.
Right.
I know I personally don't understand some of the stuff that was presented. I'm not a techie by any stretch. If there are any other members of council that would like a little more time to digest this and hopefully understand it a little better, I would suggest that we postpone this vote until our next meeting.
Well, I think we should go and speak with our neighbors.
Mayor, Deck, members of council, this administration does speak with its neighbors all the time. Like as I said, is they have the software on board already, which we don't have. So we have to get that in order to make it a lot more efficient. Is that what the administration may be able to do, or would be able to arrange for, is actually a private demonstration by the company for council, for those that are interested, to show how it works and being able to get, to increase the level of confidence in that regard. So that's what administration could do. And so with that is to be the suggestion is that the councillor Shishin would like to, be basically their executive friendly amendments to be set.
You got a question, Jim? Yeah?
No.
Chris, can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. What, did any specific municipality say they were using this technology?
Yes, many.
And it works?
It's an agenda software package with a live streaming capability. So on the administrative side of things, it allows us to create RFDs. It allows for approval of said RFDs for agenda package compilation. Then it also gives us the webcasting ability. So we would live stream our council meeting at the same time that it records it. It would timestamp it for each individual item on the agenda as we go through them. When it's posted, residents could go on there, say, I just want to see this portion of the movie, click, or the live stream, they click on that, it takes them right to that portion. It stores the information for us so that those meetings are now stored, and the documents are stored. It works already with Microsoft, so it's no different for our staff. When compiling RFDs, those RFDs get compiled the same way that they do now.
Thank you. I understand a little better on how it works, but I am concerned with the price.
Understand?
Neil?
Just trying to understand that very large difference in price. Assuming Webcasting Plus offers more features, what are some of the features we would lose by not going with Webcasting Plus, but choosing to go with YouTube?
Mayor, Deck, members of council, Councilor Shishin, the major difference was webcasting it through our own website, which gives a lot more control over distribution with it and whatever, and the other potential documents or other sites that you may be able to link into it versus going through YouTube while it's there. those are the primary differences that we were informed.
So for a layman, one is public domain,
And one is private.
and one becomes private domain.
Yeah.
So you actually have it, so it can't be tampered, filtered, or adjusted. I would like a little bit more information on this, council, I'm sorry, before we spend a second.
That's okay.
Would you like to withdraw your motion and maybe do a motion?
That's
to
okay,
send it
we'll just
back
keep
to administration?
recording and posting them.
Absolutely, I definitely like to withdraw my motion, and put it in motion forward to send this back to administration for further information, further gathering of all that information.
Certainly don't want them
See
in
if there's
control
any
of
other options that
anything.
maybe aren't in the 5 digits there.
If I may ask one question about the draft, policy. Excuse me, on number 10, it indicates that, the, recordings, like we can record anything, anybody can record anything in this room. But it seems to be that you suggested that we don't allow that if we implement this?
Mayor Deck, members of council, in a lot of the policies that have been investigated, it does have that feature in it, talked about the control of it, if you have the ability to webcast there, and it has the ability to limit other exposure, what people do with it, and if they film or not. Because then it's content control, because there's other responsibilities with it, is if we're webcasting and such, is that we need to post signs that say that and this could be public, and anything like your features right now, if this is being webcasted, you have no control if you're being seen or somebody showing you anywhere else and using your image and how they use it.
It's
If
Public place.
Understandable, but the fact is that if it's a meeting, if we webcast and such, we have to post that. We have to make sure that people are aware of those concerns and how that's used. It also could be trademarked, there could be other things that are part of this, that comes up from time to time, depending on the speakers that does have controls. So it's one of those things that are part of that goes with that. So, you're done.
You know how that works.
I don't support that.
Well, we're not doing this
Okay.
until.
Well, it was on here, so I figured I'd ask.
All in favor of Council Musician's motion to send this back to administration for further evaluation with more information?
Can we have a time to report back as well with that motion?
Next council meeting, would we be able to have?
Very good.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Citizen engagement.
Mayor Deck, members of council, as I mentioned during the previous discussion, is that, depending on citizen engagement, if we use webcasting, it's gonna have some different implications. Developing policies, I have done some research on this, and there's other municipalities that are actually going away from webcasting, but more are actually also going away from, open mic. There's also some that are looking at what the policies would allow for an open mic situation. So I want to continue to do a little bit more research, and I'll bring it back at our next meeting with a recommendation, but also a draft policy with it, if we're looking to do it, because there's some that are actually right now, they're professing it's a kind of a mixed bag and they're moving away from it. So I want to do some more research to make sure that we're making a proper recommendation on that. Mayor Deck.
Motion to accept this information?
No, actually, I'm not, I have a motion otherwise. I'd like to make a motion that, to direct administration to allot 15 minutes per meeting, whether it be at the beginning of the meeting or at the end of the meeting, for an open mic session, where council can have members of the public ask questions, speak to any issues that they may have. So I do know that there are a lot of municipalities who allow this, and I think that it considering that we are elected officials and we represent the residents of the town, we should give them some time to speak at our meetings.
Well, I do agree that we should give our residents the opportunity to speak at the meetings. I don't know if I'm ready to say yes to this resolution at this
Is there
point,
a
because I
question?
think there needs to be some policy behind what that time looks like, what our recourse is to potentially have to stop because time is up, what that all looks like as well. The concept of the 15 minutes, I think, makes total sense. As a matter of fact, I might even recommend that we go 30.
Point
But
of order?
Yep.
I
What's your
thought that there
question,
was
Jeff?
supposed to be questions.
can we adjust the
Or do you,
resolution?
or do you
or
want to
the-
go? There's two things. Farrell presented to us.
Yeah.
Recommending that he brings back some more information with a policy. You voted to, you
I made a
want to vote to
motion.
just push ahead without a policy or anything in place.
Yes, it did.
Then I'd like to adjust the motion to include a policy before we vote on this.
Do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
If the policy can be written by the next meeting, sure.
Well, it has to be brought into the next meeting, we have to read it, and we also have to
Okay.
pass it.
Yep. But I would like to have that put on the agenda with the policy in place.
You can have the policy? All in favor? Opposed? Good.
It'll be Christmas time by the time that gets voted through. What's the big deal? Sorry, just a yes or no?
Or,
No,
sorry,
I'm tired of this vote.
you can't,
You can't do nothing, you can't say nothing.
order please. Updating council, go to council conduct bylaw.
That would be by item. Birmingham's and municipal audit have been removed, by the way. The council code of conduct bylaw is supposed to be reviewed every 4 years, I believe, and the last time we reviewed it was 2018. We had talked about it early on, or later at the end of last year, and it was to be brought forward for a refresher, and that has not happened. So I would like I'd like to make a motion that council direct administration to bring the council code of conduct forward at the next meeting, and I suppose between now and then, if we have any input on what we suggest be changed, particularly how the complaints against councillors are handled, that's my motion.
Council, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Number 4, policy, council sanctions and letters of reprimand.
That would be me again. Thank you. Let's do that. Last meeting, I had inquired as to why the letter of reprimand, as well as my complaint letter from the sexual assault that I had experienced with Councillor McCann in November of 2021 was removed from our website, and it was indicated to me that there's no policy surrounding how long the letters of reprimand should remain up, considering that he would still be in the seat had this not happened. I do believe that they should remain, things like that certainly should remain for the term of a councillor's, or the length of the term that the councillor is expected for. So I would like to make, and apparently we need a policy surrounding that. Perhaps we could integrate that policy with the council code of conduct bylaw. That might be easier. But I certainly think that a removal of something as grievous as that was, it is not stale dated, and the community should know, as well as any information that was surrounding it. So
The motion is?
I would say that the motion, when we're updating the council code of conduct bylaw, what would be easier?
You do wanna do,
What would be easier,
Like-
making
like
a
is it-
specific policy to discuss how long, or to indicate how long?
yeah,
Mayor, members of council, Councillor Harris, is we have a document, or a document retention policy, we can build it into that. Because then it's also how it's stored on, on the website versus, in in the
No.
database versus, so because.
It should be easily found by the residents.
Well, yes, but if you do a search, it'll be in where you do a search. It's not on your front page and it does, we won't
But
say
it
that,
should be at the front page.
You know, my job is to look at what's in the best interest all the time, you know, for that, and to look at how we manage documents and such. If council has directs administration to do that in policy, we certainly will look after that. But
Sexual assault.
It's the time, you know, and the length of time, you know, and so in doing so is being able to say how those documents, because it's not just this year, it could be.
Best policy for the town.
And it could be a number of different ways. So, you know, that establishes how long we retain records or otherwise, but it also deals with how it works with the MGA and how it aligns with how that documents are handled of a personal nature within their tax.
It's a public letter of reprimand. It's not personal in
We've,
nature.
we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
No, we have no.
Or, well, I think we're very close to a motion on the floor.
Well,
Very good. If I can ask, a policy to define sanctions and letters of reprimand and their time and how long they should be on and kept in the public view, but our records retentions, those still have to be complied with. You need both of those. You don't have one, you have to have both. I think you have to have both. So once it does, say the term changes and it drops into regular records, it's still gotta be there. You don't just throw it out. Do you agree with that, Councilor Harris?
Well, it's off the website right now.
We don't have a policy for it, Everett.
I thought we had.
I'm trying.
It was
We
up
have
there.
Records retention though,
It's retained in records. and
not
it should
publicly.
be.
You can't go on the website and,
You go onto the town website.
yeah,
Do the search item, type in Amber, it comes up.
yes, mine,
Yes,
but not Darren's.
he's not a member of the council. I didn't look at his, I only looked at yours.
Anyways, would you like to phrase it that we have that so it stays?
Mayor members of council, Councilor Harris, if we were to draft in the council code of conduct draft that would bring through a mechanism that allows for the proper tracking and display of such documents of those type of natures and the kind of a time frame and how it's handled, would that be sometimes?
Can you speak up? Sorry, I don't think that the rest of the.
Is I'm saying in essence is that in the council code of conduct is that we develop a mechanism within the document, how such documents of, let's say, breaches of council code of conduct are retained in any such documents arising out of, let's say, council code of conduct actions.
I'm just wondering, why is it not as simple as, say, a breach of the code of conduct should remain up for at least the term that the individual is there for?
With that may be what we come up with, is looking at it, we can talk and see how others have handled that, to make sure that it's consistent. Because, you know, at the same time when other people come, you know, what is the timeline? Is it from here to eternity? But your suggestion is just for the length of term that the member is on council, or as long as that member is on council, which in this particular case, Councilor McCann is no longer on council.
No, but she is.
Yeah, but then her documents associated with her would be on, but not Councilor McCann.
Her documents associated with McCann is not on there.
Order. Amber, can we have a motion?
Stale dated, isn't it, Dan? As you called it, stale dated.
When we update the code of conduct bylaw, that we put into it the letters of reprimand and council sanctions.
Sure. Completed by next meeting? Will you have this for next meeting? Okay.
All in favor? Carried. 10.1 proclamation, CN Rail Safety.
Can you hold this? But
I'll make the motion that council proclaims that September 18th to 24th, 2023 as Rail Safety Week. And apologies for no microphone.
All in favor? Carried. 10.2, Truth and Reconciliation Day, 2023.
I'll move we declare September 27th as Truth and Recognition Day 2023 in Gibbons.
All in favor? Carried. 10.3, Proclamation of Community Week for Gibbons. Jake?
I'd like to put in that council proclaim September 8 to 17, 2023 as Community Week for Gibbons.
All in favor? Carried. Staff reports.
Mayor Deck, members of council, please, with that step.
Mayor Deck, members of council. Pardon me. All of our summer staff, so summer programs, our museum and public works are completing their seasonal work as of August 25th. So make sure you say goodbye to them. They did a fantastic job for us this summer. Our recreation classes are starting up in mid-September. Our arena ice was installed mid-August, and we've had our first booking on August 21st, and now we're booked up till the end of time, it seems. We have our second intake of our community service grants, and they're now accepting applications, with the deadline being September 8th for that. And upcoming events is the Townwide Garage Sale on September 9th, Meet the Community Night September 12th, a Mayor's Brunch September 22nd, and our Truth and Reconciliation event on September 27th.
Mooney.
Mayor Deck, members of council, working on capital projects and direct reporting.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Good.
How's the audit coming?
It's in the hands of the auditor.
Pardon?
It's in the hands of the auditor, Councilor Harris.
Do we know when they will be reporting back?
Mayor Deck, members of council, they have expressed that they will be here for the second meeting in September. That was reported at our last council meeting.
I don't believe that you gave us a date, but okay. Are the auditors aware that we are still waiting for receipt of the first payment for the 4.5 acres?
Mayor Deck, members of council, the payment of the 4.5 acres isn't dependent on the audit.
Just yes or no? Are they
Yes,
aware? Are they
It's
aware?
not, it's not related, Mayor Deck, members of council, they're not related.
We're missing money. The auditors should know that.
They have all the information that they need. And this audit is actually for 2022, not for 2023. Mayor Deck, members of council. Louise.
Yeah, we're finalizing plans for the Mayor's Brunch, which will be on the 22nd. Information will be going out to regional municipalities, to all our local businesses, regional businesses, hopefully we get a good turnout. We'll send the information out to council. The filming crew for the movie is in town a lot. They were here for 2 days on the long weekend. They were here last weekend. They'll be here several more times. This movie will not be released until next summer, so they don't know about cutting. That's what we're going to do. But the filming, yes, for sure there will be a movie. Film one takes 15 times. Yeah. I guess that's right. So, yeah, it's coming. Down here till mid-October.
Thanks, Louise. Eric.
Mayor Deck, members of council, Ivan Hoffman. So, about that movie. We did the South Road, it looked really good. We utilized our packer and it seems pretty hard and solid. We'll see if it stays that way. Vaccine was completed this week, thanks to the residents on 51st Motor Vehicles at Kentucky. Tree planting, we put trees down the boulevard. We planted 126 trees in town, and a lot of them look like they're dying. So we researched this, And for newly planted trees, it's normal for the leaves to fall off due to wind burn, from transportation, shocks from the transport, and environmental factors. Up to 10% loss is expected, but won't show until the following year. So they look like they may be dying, but they can pop back up next year. It's just the way that the tree works in the shock. I'm not a tree expert, but she is, and she's got that from her staff, or the people she deals with. Wastewater pump servicing is ongoing, and of course I'm working on the gate at the sewer collision. It's an ongoing thing, I'm not trying to stop the experience, but anyway. Fire department, so we're at 99 town calls, and probably, I'm gonna say a good 80 of them are medical. So medical response, delay of ambulance and things like that, we got the assisting ambulance, or county calls are at 93, membership is currently at 22, but re-recruiting, we got about another 3 interviews upcoming, so we'll be going through about another 5 or 6 recruits coming on soon. So we're getting the interest now, which is good. County Firefighter Olympics was last weekend, we did not fare too well. When the chief of Morinville calls and says we're doing a seminar on how to win the county fire Olympics, you know we didn't do well. And another note, just I found out today, our food bank drive will be the 3rd of December, and we want to put a goal out of 12,000 pounds this year. So for the residents, we got to get the food bank up and running. We're usually average around 10,000 that day, so if we could up it a little and satisfy the food bank, it'd be great for all of them. Any questions now?
Okay.
Projects?
I always have questions for you. 126 trees. What kind of trees are they?
A lot of them are elm.
Okay.
Elm, I think there's some maple. I'm not a tree expert. So elm, I think a lot of elm. So, good question. I will get back to you on that.
Okay. The only reason why is I do have a background in forestry and just making sure that we have a good complement of trees, because when it comes to hardening your community against pests and different things, it's always good to have different trees. And as you know, we've had some problems with trees in the river valley that contaminate other trees with tree mold and all those other things. So having hardier trees, I just want to make sure, I don't want to be quoted for I want stronger trees, but I do want to make sure that we have a strong variety of trees.
Councilor Monty, I have a lot of faith in what Denise plants in this town.
Okay.
She does a lot of research on what she does. So I have a lot of faith she's not going to plant something that's going to...
It is good to hear about the elm trees, because I don't know if you know this, but if you've ever done tree inventory, as the tree grows, so does the investment of that tree. So a tree could cost $5,000. 10 years later, it's worth double that, triple that, depending on longevity, how it is. So money does grow on trees that way, if you want to look at it that. So I appreciate that. If you can come back with a report on just what we have, what you've planted, would certainly appreciate that.
We can do that.
And then the other question, just being from previous firefighter background with Gibbons Fire, for long standing. I'm very happy to hear that you're still at 22 members. I know it's always hard to recruit members, especially with the stuff that the members experience. I've had to go through that myself, obviously, from being on the fire department. With that, is there anything that we can do to help assist with membership recruitment from council's side to help with the fire department?
If you see new residents around town that think they might be interested, just mention that we're there. It's online, or stop by the department on Tuesday night. The top old members that are sitting in front of me and tell them to rejoin. Just, you promote it. That's the best way to do it. We've been, we were online. We even went to the farmers market last week, and we got one guy there. So, he's seen it online and come over.
I know how hard it is to recruit, being a recruiter in the past, especially when you see counties having, struggling, trying to get recruitment for fire departments, and you see how literally houses burning down because they don't have firefighters to put them out. So again, I compliment you and the fire team for maintaining that membership from the town side, and I can't speak for Sturgeon County, but I'm pretty sure we'll leave a pretty good record with them as well.
Yeah, and my goal is 30 firefighters. So
30 for full
I get closer than across. I get closer.
Understood. And I don't know if you know what burnout is for firefighters, but a lot of it will deal with PTSD. Even for me, I'm just going to be a little vulnerable. I've gone through PTSD from fire, and it's one of those things that as a previous firefighter, you still have to maintain your own personal life. And there's a lot of sacrifice that the members do, the men and women that are part of that, and their families. So I do commend you, and I do appreciate the fire team, how strong we are in the community here. So thank you.
Question?
Please.
I'm glad to announce the EV stations are up and running. So, we commissioned them and actually took the fences down today, so we have an electric vehicle, tried them out. The rates were taken from around the local area, so, and, I'm not an electric vehicle guy. Heartland Station, the construction, everybody must have seen the buildings going up. We put in rig that road, so we can take that other road out and get the in-ground infrastructure, which will be starting probably Monday. I have a on-site, off-site construction meeting tomorrow, so I haven't got a clue what that is, but I'll find it tomorrow. And it's going pretty good, it's going quick. So they should still be open by the fall, but I'll say still should be, because I'm not gonna say yes until I see it happen. So, when I walk through the door, I'll tell you it's open. Memorial Park, Stephanie's on.
Yeah, and we're just currently waiting on some of the detailed quotes to finalize it. Have come through for that.
The cottage subdivision, there's currently 10 lots reserved, and we're preparing the tender for infrastructure servicing, and us select will be doing that. So the retrofit or the upgrade to the arena and curling club, we met with Sandra from AUMA today, and we're not happy with it, so we are working with her to rectify any issues we're having. We are not there's no override on it, but we put it in override because we're not satisfied with it, so we're gonna work with the company who put it in and through her to get all of these rectified before winter. And they're pretty strong feelings about it not working like it should, so, and we won't accept it until it's totally working to our satisfaction.
I just have a question for Stephanie. As far as Memorial Park is concerned, I'm aware of the lighting. I'm aware of new trees. It sounds as if we are waiting on equipment. What is that equipment?
Councillor Barry, right now we're looking at working in partnership with the Agricultural Society on a grant where we'd be looking at a new splash pad and changing washer sites. So it is the equipment for the splash pad and the change.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions with regards to the report?
Mayor, deck members of council, I'd just like to take a moment and wrap up my report. Just a clarification of some transaction history involving Councillor Harris. Mayor, deck members of council, the purpose of this letter is to clarify the information that Councillor Harris has been providing to the public during meetings of council regarding the letter of complaint and sanctions filed by council.
Point of order.
Pertaining to
Why
her
have I not
utilization
seen what he's
of
reading?
her municipal credit card during months of February and March of 2023. Councillor Harris has publicly stated that I gave her permission to use her town credit card for purchasing her personal insurance, and then she proceeded
No.
to position her statement
She said
in a
you
manner
were
that
aware
made
of
it
it.
clear that I gave her permission to use her town credit card for the core cash
That's
withdrawals
false.
totaling over $2,100.
He said
Not including service fees that
He-
are purposefully withheld
she was-
information.
she said
from
he was
the
aware of it.
remaining councillors,
didn't
other
give permission.
council
He
members,
was aware of
which I
it.
did not
Didn't
do.
tell the council.
Councillor Harris has heatedly and repeatedly expressed that I'm responsible for her actions related to the use of her town credit card and accused me of lying. Further, Councillor Harris has continually targeted Monique Jeffrey, Director of Finance, since she had brought forth the information regarding the use of her town credit card, which I then reported to Mayor Deck on March 29th. While we were attending the Alberta Meeting Leaders Caucus while being held at the Westin Hotel, from Wednesday, March 29th until Friday, March 31st. Ms. Jeffrey was doing what she has a responsibility to do. Further, to assist with clarifying the chain of events, I've created the following timeline. February 17, 2023, purchase of insurance of $433.46. February 27th, Councillor Harris emailed to Cindy Osborne that she used her town credit card for insurance purchase of $431 and stated that she would be in the office today or tomorrow to clear that up. March 3rd, 2023, Councillor Harris contacted me while I was on vacation in Victoria to let me know that she used her credit card for her personal insurance and nothing else. To which I replied, okay, as it had already been done, and that she was going to pay it back right away. And I further asked that when she paid it back, that she placed 2 copies of the receipt on my desk or table. March 22nd, 2023, Councillor Harris paid the $430 for the Visa payment. March 25, 2023, Councillor Harris took a cash advance of $400 from the Royal Bank ATM. March 25th, 2023, Councillor Harris took a second cash advance of $400 from Royal Bank ATM. March 25th, 2023, Councillor Harris took a third cash advance of $303 from the Pittsfield Pub. March 27, 2023, Councillor Harris took a fourth cash advance of $1,000 from the Royal Bank ATM. It's important to note that in no time was administration contacted by Councillor Harris to either inform or advise of use of the cash withdrawals until it was brought to her attention via a formal complaint filed by Mayor Deck. Payments from the town credit card advances in the amount of $21.19 was paid on April 12, 2023. Thank you, Mayor Deck.
Feel better, Phil?
Council reports. After we get a motion to.
We all saw that anyways, didn't we? It's been posted a lot.
Order.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Carried. Council reports. Dale.
On July 29th, I attended the parade in Miguel, and on August 16th, I attended the South Development Open House.
Jay.
July 28th, attended the Strathcona County event. And then July 29th, attended the village parade as well in Legal. July 31st, participated in the negotiation committee. And then August 17th, I know that's not part of committee, but was also part of the special council meeting.
All right.
On July 31st, I took part in the CAO Contract Negotiation Committee meeting. On August the 12th, I took part in the Bon Accord Parade. On August 17th, I was at the special meeting of council. On August 18th, I was again at the special meeting of council. On August 19th, I took part in the Redwater Parade, and then following that, attended the Spruce View Manor Barbecue. And that is my report.
As per my letter of reprimand and the sanctions that have been imposed on me for the use of my town credit card, I have not attended any town events or any of my committee meetings. And I would like that reflected in the minutes as such, that I am not attending anything as per my sanctions, please.
Wallace.
July 29th, the Legal Parade, and August 12th, the Bon Accord Parade.
Norm.
July 28th, I attended the Strathcona County fundraiser. July 29th, I was at the Legal Parade. August 11th, went to the Redwater fundraiser. August 12th, the Bon Accord Parade. August 17th, at the Jessica Martell fundraiser. And August 19th, at the Redwater Parade.
July 29th, I attended the Legal Village Parade. On the August 9th and 10th, I was at the Treaty Partners Educational Gathering at Enoch, which is a 2-day event with surrounding Indigenous peoples and mayors from around the region, talking about the treaties and a whole bunch of other issues. It was a very unique event. Took part in a pipe ceremony, which was something I've never done before, so it was very enlightening. Met some very interesting people, from residential school survivors to administrators. One of the funniest guys is Terry, who is the band manager, Terry Arkham. He is hilarious. It was a great event, and we look forward to doing more events with Enoch and Alexander. The special meetings are taken care of. August 19th took part in the Redwater Parade. August 17th took part in the Jessica Martel Golf Tournament. The foundation tournament raises a considerable amount of money to fund and keep Jesse's house running. And our local MLA takes part and actually takes a big hand in helping run it to raise funds, because to operate Jesse's house takes a considerable amount of money. And I believe they saw over 400 people through their doors last year. Unfortunately, that was about a quarter of what was needed. They needed that much more space. So, and that ends my report. The motion to accept the reports. Thank you, Jay. All in favor?
Opposed?
Opposed? Carried. Yes, Louise.
Mayor, Deck, members of council, I forgot to mention, don't forget to sell your tickets for the golf cart. Draw date's coming up soon, we may have to extend it if we don't get the tickets. Get the tickets sold, you won't buy tickets.
All right, 10-minute recess before we move into closed session.
Why wasn't that for the Why wasn't that for the
You're a real hero, aren't you, Farrell? Real hero.
Why wasn't that for the agenda package?
Certainly not as detailed as Darren's. Or Darren's was certainly not detailed as that. I remember seeing that one. It was slipped right off there, wasn't it? Farrell, that was quite the detail you went into there. Didn't hear that about Darren's sexual assault.
Proud of yourself.
Should be really proud of yourself.
Wait until people find
Yeah,
out that
you betcha. Dan, you are pathetic.
you're forgetting your